Now, despite the demise of hardware brand Wilko, August was a positive month for British retail as sales rose by 0.4% compared to July.
However, this figure was slightly below the figure predicted by some economists.
The figures come after a string of economic updates this week. Quite a few of them positive. Here to break these figures down for us is GB News' economics and business editor Liam Halligan with On the Money.
So it's
Happy Friday. I'm having a personality transplant.
I'll tell you what,
You said it.
Economists are dismal scientists. I've changed.
I'll tell you what, Liam, it's now 3 days on the bounce.
I know.
Good news, Liam. Tell us about the latest lot.
Well, of course, it's Friday today. On Wednesday, we had the news that inflation in the UK continued to come down in August. Still pretty high, 6.7% during the 12 months to August. But that was good news, down from 6.8% in July. Then yesterday, contrary to my expectations, Mystic Liam's crystal ball gets fogged up. The Bank of England actually held interest rates for the first time. 14 successive rate rises, but now the Bank of England's held interest rates at 5.25%. And a lot of people are saying this isn't the end. We just had a Churchill quote. This isn't the beginning of the end, but it is perhaps the end of the beginning of the cost of living crisis.
One of the positive bits of news in all this is that mortgage rates are expected to fall within the next few days.
We have seen mortgage rates falling for a few weeks now because of expectations that if there was one more rate hike, then soon they'll start coming down because mortgage rates are obviously very forward-looking. But today's good news is that retail sales, we've got a graphic here, good news graphic, retail sales are up in August. Despite the fact that the economy is on a bit of a knife edge. So in August, sales were 0.4% higher than in July. Between June, July and August, they were up 0.3% on the previous 3 months. Clothing sales in particular were up in August, 2.3%. Pip, were you anything to do with that? Did you buy many clothes during August?
Obviously. Working at this place, you have to wear something different every day.
But this is interesting. Check this out. The value of sales in August, even though they were up, they're actually down significantly, 1.5% on February 2020. So that's the point. Even when retail sales are up, they're still down when we look at the value because of inflation since before the lockdown. We haven't yet recovered our retail mojo since the lockdown.
Yeah, and you can always rely on Jeremy Hunt to dampen the mood. He said, of course, despite all this positive news from Good News Liam, no prospect of tax cuts before the autumn announcement.
Well, he's clearly playing politics, isn't he? He's clearly using expectations management. Chancellors love to do this. They like to say, oh, I'm not going to do that, and then they pull the proverbial rabbit out of the hat and everybody goes, hooray! Politics as a parlour game. Businesses, ordinary people trying to manage their budgets and make ends meet, they don't like this kind of showmanship. I do think the Tories will put in some kind of tax cut before the next general election. I mean, they'll have to retain some kind of party unity. And the reality is, you know, we may yet escape recession. We have had 3 bits of good news, joking aside, in 3 successive days. And we'll see what happens in terms of investment and retail sales in the month to come.
Can I bring you another little bit of good news? The retail giant Currys is creating more than 1,100 permanent and temporary jobs. It's gearing up for the busy period as we head towards Christmas.
I think this is interesting. We focus, don't we, on the bad news. Obviously, Wilko looms large over the high street, 400 stores, 12,000 employees. Some of those stores will be saved. Some of those employees will keep their jobs because we know other discounters, B&M and others, are looking to, and have even pledged in some cases, to buy up some of those stores, particularly the stores in the more busy parts of the country. But, Currys, a household, high street, thoroughbred, a well-known retailer, if they're saying there's a lot of concern that there's uncertainty in the economy, right? We are kind of on a knife edge. Is inflation going to carry on coming down? Could there be another interest rate rise? Are we going to go into recession? Growth stalled last month. Will it recover? If the likes of Currys, full of smart people thinking deeply, looking into the future, are we going to put this investment in? You can't put out a press release like that, and it's literally just dropped on the wires, hasn't it, without putting serious money behind it. So I do feel that there's something in the air, that maybe we're turning the corner here. Maybe the global economy is recovering. Maybe Britain can really start moving now.
Positive. So something that gets my goat, though, Liam, is food inflation, particularly around branded products. And there was something out today about that, right? Is it 3 times the amounts of food inflation on branded products compared to non-branded stuff? Why is it that the same item seems to cost so much more money if it's got a label on it?
Well, why'd you pay a lot of money for a T-shirt with a label on it, or trainers with labels on it? So you can feel superior to other people. It's human nature. Personally, I feel superior if I get a bargain. You know, if I can buy a bag of spuds and some vegetables from a shop and make a really good meal out of it. Not much really. That's what floats my boat. But maybe I'm a bit weird. Look, I do think we've seen a shift in consumer patterns over the last year or so during this cost of living crisis. The likes of Aldi, Lidl, the discounters, they've taken a lot more market share than they've had before. And I think a lot of people have learnt to budget a bit better. But when you do have to watch the pennies in order to make ends meet, people like to just have those little treats from time to time, don't they?
Yeah.
And there are signs now that people are starting to replace those big consumer goods, curries, that car sales are starting to tick up. We talked about that just a couple of weeks ago, that there is a sense now that if interest rates have peaked, people who have been hammered with mortgage increases, maybe that hammering is over. Prices aren't coming down. Prices are still going up, but they're going up at half the rate that they were 6 months ago. So we must count our blessings.
Good news, Liam Halligan. What a great way to end the week. Cheers.
It's not always just a label, though,
No.
with these brands. I mean, I love a certain brand of tomato ketchup, and you could line all the different ones up here,
I don't
and
believe
I
that.
would know
No.
which one it was.
I'm with Liam. I've broken that cycle. During lockdown and during the cost of living crisis, I've gone to kind of supermarket-only brands, and I'm telling you, your children get used to it, and you can too.
I'm telling you that I wouldn't.
Well, there we go.
Needs must.
I've been
You
told.
stay out of it.